good to go. All right. As far as injuries, no changes from what you guys saw yesterday. We'll be excited to get out there again today. Same with the wide receivers that we discussed, and then we'll keep an eye on 39 on Eddie and Aaron and get a feel and see what they end up doing today, and then we'll just continue to communicate with them exactly on a day-to-day basis where they're at practice-wise and then how they feel. That's going to be important to see where they're at. Other than that, we had a good practice yesterday. We'll be able to just came in from a walkthrough. It was nice and sunny and good, clean, fresh air. So it's been good for us. I'll go back to how important and how excited I am to get those fans going at home. It's just such an advantage, and I just the last couple games that we've played, it's been a huge advantage, and I can't wait to get out there and hear them get going.
You said you were going to test Eddie's ankle yesterday. What happened when you guys did test it?
Well, we went through and Andre, our head trainer, went through and did some stuff with him, and just felt like yesterday to keep him out's the best thing. So they're going through some things right now, and then we'll keep an eye on it. And if it's something that we think we want to go ahead and get him out there for practice, we'll do that. And if not, then we'll keep him out. But we just felt like yesterday that for yesterday it was best to not have him practice.
Is that something to do with the weather conditions, practicing outside yesterday?
No, not really, no.
Last year, you were preparing for a playoff game, but also knew that there was going to be outside interest in you as a coach. What were the challenges of handling that week and staying in order with all of it?
To me, it's being prepared ahead of this time. And when I say that, that means that, number one, if you are prepared for those type of situations, any interviews, that sort of thing, you do all that prior, meaning months and a year or years prior is when you do it, so that when you get into these times right now, you don't spend an ounce on it, really. And that's what I was able to do. I had a great conversation with Coach Reed last year at this time, and and I promised him and told him I'm not going to spend 1 ounce of energy and time on my interviews throughout the week. I'm not doing that to our team. I won't do it, and I held my promise to that. I was prepared going months prior, and use my time there. And then, of course, there's some times when things are done that you got to cram once. For me, the season ended, so I had a late night after that game. But it's a distraction, and it's a great opportunity for a lot of people right now. And I went through this last year, but it's just so much to your benefit to be able to just we've all worked so hard to get to this point. I think it's selfless to do that, and that's who we are, and that's what we're about.
Has Vic done a good job of just?
Yeah, he's done a great job. I mean, from the talks we've had, and me just seeing where he's at and how he's just been completely focused at every time I walk into his office, man, he's grinding. He got that remote in there, and he's just writing stuff down and grinding on stuff with the game, and so I appreciate that, and we really haven't talked a whole lot about it just because we're so focused in on this game.
When you were going through it or through game week last year, how do you push that out of your mind? Hey, I've got these job interviews coming in a couple of days. I know work-wise you're focused on doing your work, but is it hard to not think about it or wonder?
If you have people around you that I had a support system there of guys that knew that, hey, you'll get an opportunity. And to me, deep down inside, I always knew that if it's meant to be, it'll be meant to be. So I can sit here and try to cram a couple more hours here or there during that week, but is it really worth it? And that was a decision I made and I went by. But I just think it's so important to focus. It's not fair to your peers. It's not fair to your players and all that. And he's not doing that. Vic's not. He's been doing a great job with that and so completely focused. And it is hard though. It's not easy because you're talking about a big time opportunity. But you got to live in the moment, and the moment is day by day.
How is your approach this week different, or perhaps not different, than a normal regular season game week?
It's really not different. It's not. For us, I stress that to the team in regards to making sure that they keep their schedule the same. We as coaches do the same thing, and I'll be honest with you, it's hard at times to keep it. There's, you do want to, and for me being a first-year head coach in this position, you want to make sure all your bases are covered, and so it's not easy, but you gotta fight that, and you gotta be able to stick to what you say. And it's funny too. I'll hear if there's an instance that goes on, whatever it is, a certain scenario, situation. Every now and then, probably twice this week, I've heard a couple players say, "Hey, coach, we're going to be us. Hey, now be you." One of those, and they're listening and they're hearing that, and I like that because they understand what we're trying to get at.
And on the flip side of what you were at the situation last year, this year, is it important to you that you stay on top of being aware of situations where you might lose a coach and having lists ready and doing your research ahead of time? Is that a challenge while you're focusing in on the season to also be kind of ready for that eventuality?
Two parts to that. I think the first part is now in my end, I always have to have a contingency plan for every coach on our staff. And that doesn't just happen this week because names start flying around. I have to be smart enough to know who those guys are. And so you have that plan, and now that's something that when the time comes, if you have to deal with that, you have a plan ready to go. And so for me, that's what I'll deal with and follow by. And I think other than that, when you start focusing on other things, then it can detract you from what you're trying to get at. But what was the other part of your question?
Just how important it is to be prepared, and is that in itself a distraction during the season? Is you're trying to focus on every game, but you also want to be big.
Yeah. The distraction part is no, it's not. It's not a distraction. It's there, it's there, but it's not a distraction because you got guys like Vic who aren't making it a distraction.
Prince said yesterday he doesn't even want to think about losing a guy like Vic. Have you thought about what that would?
I haven't, because that's just not. I mean, I truly understand that this is the time. There's teams that aren't playing right now, so they're living in that moment. There's coaches that are going through some big time job interviews right now, today as we speak. But we're not there, and that's what makes it fun for us is that we're in a great spot. We have a great opportunity ahead of us, and I haven't gone there with that. When the time comes that I need to, and I'm able to selfishly because we're done, then I will. But I haven't approached that, and maybe I'm wrong for that, but I haven't.
Matt, as someone who's studied a lot of quarterbacks over the years, how much do you think a quarterback's legacy is made in the playoffs?
Huge. Yeah, it's a big time deal. Just go through the list of quarterbacks that win in the playoffs and that win Super Bowls, and anybody that's how people remember you. That's every quarterback's and every player's goal is to win the Super Bowl, and it's hard. And then obviously, how do you do in the playoffs? And it's not just quarterbacks; it's everybody remembers you for that. So yeah, it's very important.
What do you think distinguishes a quarterback in those moments when you look at the guys who have done well and maybe guys who haven't either?
I don't think it's a stat thing as much as it is what people remember are the comebacks, making big plays at the right time, protecting the football, being a leader. No one really remembers 400 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. They don't remember. They remember that game that you had. Unfortunately, it's a lot of comebacks, and it's the people that can win in those situations because they're always a tight game. That's my opinion.
Matt, Mitch has continued to call the offense unselfish.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think he fits in that, and what have you come to appreciate maybe of the intangible side of him?
Well, we have a lot of unselfish guys on the team, but he's at the top. And when he says that, he means it. He knows that we have guys that don't care how many catches, how many rushes, who gets the touchdowns. He doesn't care whether he throws 5 touchdown passes or hands the ball off for 5. That's just who we are. And then defensively, it's the same way. We're all about we and us, and not about me and I. And he's the leader of all that.
How has your relationship kind of helped? Is your relationship with him helped you maybe connect with the team overall?
Really good because he's a leader. He's a young leader at a very valuable position, a position that I know. So I feel like I have a good temperament on how things go. And people always will go to the quarterback, and the quarterback has a good gauge on where guys are at. And then I have other leaders too throughout the team, whether it's offense or defense. But just communicating with those guys, open communication, get an idea of where they feel. It's been a long season. How do you guys feel mentally? How do you feel physically? But he's at the top of that.
Matt, out of all these different aspects of your offense, how would you assess how well you guys have been able to execute downfield shots or deep balls?
It's all predicated off of what the defense gives us. We're always in attack mode. We want to be aggressive. I think people could see that throughout the beginning of the year. We had some opportunities. Teams had decided to try to take some of that away, and now we got to be able to take advantage of other things because of that. So it's the whole adapt or die thing, and we're trying to adapt and not die.
As Philadelphia fought their way through that NFC East and made the playoffs, what impresses you the most about their team?
Well, they're resilient, and they've had a different year than last year. Last year, they came out and they started surprising people. They went with that whole quote underdog deal, and then they took that to another level, won the whole thing, and you could see them really pull together as they were really close. They were having fun, and you could feel it. Everybody felt it. This year, they hit some injuries and they had some losses, and it wasn't as easy. And now they fought, and they were resilient. They stuck together, and now they're in. And that's the goal, is to make it into the tournament, and that's where they're at.
It doesn't say.
You need to have a conversation this week with Cody Parkey at all, or is it kind of a stay away, let him do his thing?
Yeah, I let him do his thing, really. I've done that all year. I haven't really said a whole lot to him. I've said some good things. I've said some bad things, but he's a mature individual, and he understands it. He wants it. If I'm not, being hard on him at times in practice, at times, or complimenting him at times, then, I'm not doing my job. But I don't overdo it either way. I don't stay on top of him and just yell at him, and I don't compliment him all the time. I'm just kind of, he knows that.
You had Kyle on the injury report yesterday, but he was full.
Mm-hmm.
Do you anticipate will he get a vet day at some point this week, or?
He could get one, yeah, this week, whether it's today or tomorrow. I'm not opposed to that at all, just because I think it's being smart. That's what we're hoping, yeah. I hope so.
You said Philly was more resilient this year. They had to kind of go through more adversity. Does that make them even more of a threat to play on Sunday?
No, they're all these teams are threats that we're playing. I think that's their own. That's probably what they're going through right now and feeling, is that they've been through they've been battle tested. They've had some what we've been calling calluses throughout this year. They've fought through it, and then in the end, these last 6 games to win 5 out of 6, that's what you want to do as you go into the playoffs, and not lose 5 out of 6 and fall in that way.
Vic doesn't seem like a guy who gets distracted by much. Does that help him in this situation?
For sure. I mean, he has his own personality and how he handles things, and it's when you take a step back and you think about the situation we're in, for him to get an opportunity, and for his name to be thrown out here as a possible head coaching candidate, how can you not be happy for somebody as the person and as the coach? People work hard for these chances, but at the same time, this is all about this team right now, and how hard we've fought to get to this point. And so he's been in this way longer than me. He knows how to handle the situation. He knows I support him.
Matt, you were such a big deal at Delaware. How did that form sort of who you are and how you've progressed as a quarterback and then as a coach? And what was your relationship like with Tubby?
Yeah, no, I had a great relationship with Coach Raymond. He taught me a lot. It was more so of how to handle different situations. I went into Delaware. I had 2 offers from Delaware, and then with New Hampshire when Chip Kelly was there. Those were my 2 offers, and so I chose Delaware. It felt like a family atmosphere. I just liked the tradition that they had, and so going into that, Coach Raymond really taught me how to win and how to handle winning, and then how to handle tough losses, and then how to play the quarterback position. Now, some of it was wing T, which I was just okay on, but he was doing it for a long time. I think he was, in it darn near 50 years by the time I was there, 35 as a head coach. All right, thank you.
Vic, how will you balance your time this week, making sure you're ready for this game, also ready for your interviews for head coaching spot next week?
I've done 0 on that second part. 0.
Earlier in the year,
0.
a lot of people do preparation for that.
Yeah,
Why?
I really don't. That's why I'm here. I don't know, I just, I have enough on my plate coaching these guys and the other things than deal with it as they come up.
So can you talk about the Philadelphia receiving core and the challenges of defending?
Yeah, very good. Well, as we all know, Alshon, he's a big target, big catching radius, good runner after the catch, competitor. So he's obviously very good. Aguilar has really come into his own last year. He started and it carried it over to this year. He's got good speed and athleticism. Tate's an excellent slot. We know him from being in Detroit. Really good runner after the catch. And, Ertz is a tight end / wide receiver the way they use him. And he's very good, and the quarterback is very comfortable throwing to all these guys.
What about Goddard, the other tight end?
He's good, too. They're playing both tight ends a lot on the field at the same time. I think if it wasn't for Ertz, he'd be out there all the time, and they'd be happy with him.
What have you noticed from how the whole offense has played better since Foles got in there?
I haven't noticed that per se, but one thing that's happened too in that time frame is they've been able to play Sproles more and more. He's come back from his injuries, and he's added another dimension to their offense that is good.
Flattering to have job interviews lined up?
I guess, but I don't get flattered that much.
Vic, what do you see in Lane Johnson, how he's played this year? He's not going back to the Pro Bowl. He's kind of had some injury issues. How is he playing right now, and are you interested in seeing that matchup when it
He's playing good. This is the best line that we faced lately. And I can't think back to all the games, but they're a very good offensive line. Both tackles are good. They've got good interior people, with Kelsey setting it up there. So it'll be a challenge for our front guys to play these guys versus the run and the pass.
Are you expecting Eddie Jackson to be back? And if you're not sure, how prepared do you feel like Bush is in a playoff situation to kind of handle that spot?
Well, I don't know Eddie's status right now. And Bush has, had played the last couple games, full time. So that's as good as preparation as you can get. But we'll go from there. We don't have a lot of guys that have played in a lot of playoff games. So we'll see.
Vic, to go back to Alshon, the 2 years he had here, anything else you could remember about him that stands out to you and the type of the receiver he's become for the Eagles?
No, he's been the same guy. And again, he's a big target, big catch radius. And I think he's a better runner after the catch than people give him credit for. And he's got deceptive speed. So, he's gone there and flourished.
How do you see them using Sproles?
Excuse me?
How do you see them using Sproles?
Like he's always been used. He's a good route runner out of the backfield. They'll hand the ball off to him. They got a nice little sprint draw they'll give him. He'll run the inside zones, the outside zones. They'll line him up in empty occasionally where he looks like a wide receiver. He's a weapon. I couldn't believe when San Diego got rid of him way back, and then I couldn't believe when New Orleans got rid of him 4 or 5 years ago, and Philadelphia's been the beneficiary.
What stands out about the way that offense has operated on third down recently?
Well, they run a lot of their same concepts out of different looks, and they're really good at operating those concepts. And they get good pass protection for the most part, and the quarterback's making good decisions where to go with the ball.
What's the greatest challenge of handling Ertz?
Well, he's a really good receiver, and he's got really good route savviness, feels where people are and leans away from them or leans into them and breaks away. He feels man or zone well. If he's breaking out into a zone player, he'll sit it down, and the quarterback sees that. He's an instinctive route running tight end, and he's lined up as a receiver a lot too. And he's got really good hands. Well, the whole game is, just a little bit different, especially early on, with the electricity of the stadium. expect our crowd to even amp their game up even a little bit more. And there'll be some of that, but you still got to go play the game and execute.
What would that opportunity to be a head coach mean to you?
I don't know, we'll tackle that when the time comes.
A lot of your guys have said they don't even want to think about the possibility of you leaving. What does that even mean to you, just that they have been such strong advocates to keep you here?
Well, that's nice of them to say that. I appreciate that. And, feedback from those guys is always valued. So I appreciate that and like it.
What would be important for you in a head coaching opportunity? What would make you attracted to a certain job?
If the situation's good, and then you're going to say, well, what's good? There's a lot of things, working with management, players, et cetera. I mean, I haven't given it a lot of thought, and I'm not lying to you guys. I mean, I've got zero up there done.
You gonna do some Sunday night, Monday morning?
I don't know.
With that extra electricity in the stadium, is that something you kind of want your players to feed off of, or you want to rein them back a little bit so they not get too excited so they get those game or playoff game jitters?
Feed off of it as much as you can without eating too much.
Matt Nagy said when you have those interviews in the playoffs, it can be a distraction. So what is it about you that maybe allows it not to be, and does anything distract you?
I have not returned one phone call. I've not done one piece of work for it. I refuse to, and that's it.
Matt and Doug obviously have a relationship going back, and we've asked Matt if he's going to give you any, does it help that he might know some tendencies or just how Doug thinks? Does that kind of stuff really happen when a coach knows another coach?
It happens, but it's much less helpful than you think.
Nick, same feel, you're watching the same film.
Nick Foles has had a lot of success throwing the ball downfield, a lot to Alshon. I know it was a long, 80-yard touchdown a couple weeks ago, too. That's not exactly something that you guys have given up a whole lot this year. What's the key to making sure they don't get behind you on defense, especially with Eddie's status in doubt?
Well, you just said it. We can't let him get behind us because this guy does have a big arm, and he does like to throw the deep ball. So if there's a chance that he can throw a deep ball and he sees it, he will throw it. And that's his mentality. That's Doug's mentality. So they will do it. So, and a big part of this game will be how we defend the deep balls.
Were you upset the Cubs filled their bench?
Yes, I was.
Did you prepare for that?
No, I haven't prepared for that either. All right, thank you.
Locker room's open, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Mark, what have you seen from Mitch these last 3 games? No interceptions, very accurate. What have you seen in terms of taking defense has given him and finding a way to be efficient?
Yeah, I think he's done just that. I think the familiarity with everybody around him and them doing a better job of being, again, whatever, 6x2 at this landmark on time. And just getting his eyes and feet to number one. That's it's a big deal for any quarterback, but especially a guy who's building to be a great player. Just those basics. Sometimes, you think, okay, it's going to be two or three, and one's wide open. And just of banking on that 6-yard completion is going to add up down the road, or Allen Robinson's going to break a tackle. Somebody's going to break a tackle to make a big play, and he's done a good job of that.
Coach Nagy's been pretty open during the season about trying to find that identity for the run game. Do you feel like in the last 5 weeks something has developed in terms of an identity for the run game?
Yeah, I mean, we've been a little bit better. Some of that is schematically. Some of that is the teams we're playing against, differences, or how they played us versus how they played other people, giving us a little bit more, a lighter box type of situations. But we still need to come down to when we have to run the ball. We need to be able to run the ball. When we have to throw the ball, we need to do that too.
Is it still just gratifying or just good to see Jordan, on some of these runs, keeping his legs moving, just churning out that extra yard or two?
Yeah, he really, I thought, for the last week, not the first time, but really, made a statement. Truly broke some tackles, ran through some guys. We had the one run at Buffalo where he scored and kind of did the same thing. So just man, we want that and need that every snap from him.
To go back to Mitch, his accuracy was questioned maybe a little bit earlier in the year. What have you made of his ball placement, some of his throws over the past few weeks, whether it's the one deep to Taylor or the Javon and the third down?
Yeah, again, I think so much of that, there's so many moving parts. It's protection, it's route depth, it's top of route cut. There are a million variables that all get blamed or given the credit to the quarterback, which, again, there's that balance. And that's why it's the greatest position to play, and it's the worst position to play sometimes. But I think, again, every part of that equation has been better. Some of it, when you're throwing a guy in tight quarters, I think he's really improved on that of these mid-range or even shorter range throws of throwing to the right armpit or throwing to the right shoulder. Those are nuanced things that are huge. That turns that 4-yard throw into a 7-yard gain, or versus a 4-yard gain, and those add up.
What have you come to maybe appreciate about the intangible side of him to continue to keep working despite the mistakes, to go from the Rams game to these next 3?
Yeah, I've always appreciated his intangible. He's a competitive dude, and I've said before, he's got that great balance of letting the crap go and just building on the good stuff. And you don't want to, truly forget about it, but you got to let it go. And he's done that to a degree a lot better.
What do you do for him this week to make sure he's able to keep his composure in his first playoff game?
Just do what he does. Control himself. Do exactly what we've asked him to do. Nothing more, nothing less. And if his eyes and feet are in the right place, his head's in the right place, he can be great.
Mark, what's the first thing that stands out to you about the disruption that Cox presents up front for them?
Just that. I mean, disruption is a great word. They've got game wreckers as backups. That's what's scary when you look at these guys, not backups, but situational guys. Long as a third down player. When you look at a team and Haloti not as a backup, that's you kind of sit up in your seat and go, wait, what? And and Cox is outstanding. I think he's a common. We've seen some really good, inside guys. We've seen some good edge guys, and this front is a combination of all those and more, because they have those situational guys they're elite players.
How does Cox compare to Donald in terms of the way he plays and the way you have to handle him?
Bigger, I think they're similar in a lot of ways, but then structurally different, but present their own unique set of problems. He's a tremendous player, plays with, I think the way that they spell those guys is unfortunately really smart, and how they attack with them differently is really smart, and it makes it difficult.
How have you seen James Daniels maybe rise to those challenges while he's still learning next to Cody?
Yeah, we like where he's headed. You know, he's a guy that, again, is kind of a quietly confident, he's a naturally quiet guy, and the more you're around him, I think he just has that kind of calmness, and for him to play again against a guy, whatever Halodi's year it is, and he, you know, or Cox or some of these other guys we played against, we believe in him. You know, it's not a situation where we're going, hey, we gotta, you know, have to turn this way or that way or the other, and he's gonna have some, you know, he's gonna have some tough matchups, and we expect him to win them. It can help. You know, it can help if you're limiting their opportunity to substitute. You know, you see some teams do that against them in the past, and that has helped them.
What do you like about Mitch in that situation?
He's very comfortable with it. You know, that's in his wheelhouse as far as stuff that he's done from high school or college, and or what we've done here, and what I think they did a little bit in the past. So just the familiarity of it. And
Mark, the numbers say that you guys sort of have struggled taking shots downfield this year. How would you assess how that wrinkle in your offense has developed over the season?
Again, there's been good and bad. There's times, you know, talking about the last couple weeks, kind of that saying of take what they give you type of deal has been good. We've also had some opportunities to take some shots, and we've hit some, and we've missed some. Again, some of those are on the quarterback. Some of those were on the top of the route. But, you know, we're never 100%, so we're scratching and clawing for 100%.
What led you to give a 6'7", 320-pound offensive lineman a shot at playing fullback?
Bodies. No, now Bradley's a guy that he's a unique talent. He's got a lot of skills. He's got a lot of background athletically, not only in football but other sports, and he's learned a lot of positions really well. So that he did a nice job with what we asked him to do last week.
Is there something more technique-wise than just a 320-pound dude barreling down on a linebacker and blocking him that he has to be aware of?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's both. It's physics. You know, hopefully, you know, the hammer is bigger than the nail, and but you still want to technically do it correctly and get it done. And you know, he had a couple times where he got submarine. You know, those guys are pretty good at math too, and 300 is bigger than 200 and whatever. And so that there were some good collisions.
Mark, with Matt's affinity for, you know, trick plays, creative plays, and the aggressiveness, what does it tell you about him just as a coach that he is so comfortable with some of these plays?
Yeah, I think it just the confidence, you know, belief in the scheme, belief in. I think it's showing a tremendous belief in, you know, the individuals that are executing it. I think, you know, a ton of confidence in our defense, and you know, just in general, is something that just kind of it's a catalyzing type of deal.
To ask you
Kyle Long, a couple dozen snaps Sunday, obviously first experience in 2+ months. What were your biggest takeaways of what you saw from him in that first half?
It was huge, you know, to get almost. We were having the debate of, you know, how much is too much, and you never want to find out what's too much, right? Because it's bad news. But he did a nice job, and it was kind of like I don't mean this in any way, but kind of like a preseason game, you know, of trying to knock some rust off and get back out there and just have the confidence that he can do it, and he can.
Not to ask you a defensive question, but what have you come to appreciate about your own defense?
Have I come to I appreciate it every second of the day. No, I've had a ton of respect for, you know, Vic for a long time, and we played against each other back in the black and white days, and he, you know, he's been really good wherever he's been, and there's that great blend of scheme, of talent, of execution, of confidence, all, you know, and then the guys believe in it, and there's nobody that's excited to play against that unit right now. I guarantee you that.
You probably didn't set out to establish this, but you know the old saying is nothing worse than fighting a crazy person. Did you? When you design
Why is he looking at me right now? I can't wait for the end of this.
No, I mean, you
personnel groups you've used, and I don't think you set out to be funky just for the sake of doing that, but did you and Matt, is there a part of you that wants to be not just unpredictable, but let's really mix it up and give them something? You know, you're using Akeem, you're using 5 defensive linemen. That's a little on the edge of crazy. I mean, is it? Do we give people a little?
It's Matt you're calling crazy, not. I understand where you're headed with that. I guess it's you know, one person's crazy is another person's fun and dynamic and energizing, and you know, I think the chemistry that we have is not, you know, that those things are related, you know, whether it's in the locker room and the whole Club Dub thing and some of the other stuff that he does. These are a bunch of individuals that come together, and sometimes it's hard, and you have to find a unique way to galvanize them. And I think he's done a lot of things that have been very, excuse me, very positive. Now, if we would have thrown a pick while trying to throw the ball to Bradley Soul or Akeem Hicks fumbles, then crazy is the proper adjective. But I think it's just all part of the you know, chemical reaction that has taken place.
As you left Minneapolis on Sunday night and you saw what your offense did in that type of game, in that environment, different urgency for them versus you, what did you come to, I guess, appreciate about what those guys did Sunday, and what did that tell you about this group?
Yeah, I think for, you know, unfortunately for the second week in a row, we really tested our depth at receiver, and a bunch of guys stepped up and didn't blink. You know, we made some mistakes, but just the you know, you talked about Kevin White and Javon Wims and those guys making plays, and Mitch not flinching when those guys are in there. And that's a tough place to play. I mean, you guys all know that. And under the circumstances, all those things that go into it, that could have been a lot different, just a mentality going into it. And I think they approached it just how Nags told them and asked them. And so that was very positive. Excuse me.
Thanks, Mark.
That's right.
Respect the third phase.
Huh? I saw you on the tube the other night.
I keep saying that.
Huh? I saw you. I was going, he's coming in for the kill right now.
Watch the tape, I guess.
That was good. All right, fire away, guys. First question, go ahead.
Question, you know, you guys got Nick Witkowski that loses a starting job, and now he's become a 4A special teamer. Under the radar, what kind of addition has he been to special teams, and what has he been to you?
It's a good question. Nick's played, his arrow is going up, and he's played really well. Probably he was playing well at the beginning, but he's really, you start seeing him making plays, tackles, blocks, just his football savviness. You know, I mean, he's a good football player, and I mean, what he means to us, I mean, he's a core guy for us that has to play well for us, and he's done that. He's taken a leadership role. I've been real proud of how he's progressed and excited about where he's going to go too.
Matt said after the game that the extra point wasn't on your kicker. Was it a high snap?
I mean, all those things. I mean, we all own it. You know, I own it as a coach. Snap, hold, kick, we own it. The blocking, the protection, own it. So we're all in it together. And you know, now that that's passed, we got to move on. And I think that he will this week.
I think his fear was that people were going to crush Cody. And when Cody's had some inconsistencies lately, is there anything you need to do? Anything you need to say? Or no?
I think we just have to, you know, we just got back from Soldier Field, and we've been going down there and staying true to the process. Maybe there's one thing that we slightly tweak. I will say this about him. I mean, his misses, and yes, there's been some inconsistencies, and we can't argue with that because that's the tape tells you that. But the other, to be positive about it, the misses, I've never seen a guy hit 5 uprights. And what I tell him is, I said, if you're missing, I mean, you're missing awfully small. It's not sprayed everywhere. So we'll just hone in on a couple things, and I'm looking forward to him in this postseason run right here.
You went this morning to Soldier?
Oh yeah, we went Wednesday, Thursday.
Has he in your mind, gotten more comfortable at Soldier Field?
I think he has. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm with him also. I mean, last time I was here was 8 years ago. So for me to go down there and feel the wind patterns and how it's blowing, it's very good for me. And then we talk about it down there and how it's going for him. I kind of turn into a little bit of a caddy on Sunday, you know. So it's been great.
When, after the Detroit game, and he had that streak, you know, starting the Minnesota game and going through, what did you kind of see in that? And is there a mental side of getting back to Bo's working there?
I saw the Cody Parkey that I know, to be honest with you, and you know I know we've answered these questions a lot, and rightfully so. But I'm never going to flinch on him. You know, I mean he's our guy. I have a lot of confidence in him just because I know what he does. I know how he plays, and I also know I will say this about all position players. When a player hits a certain level, then obviously they can do that. And obviously, as a coach, you're trying to get him to go past that. So I know that it hasn't been the regular season wasn't as consistent as what he wanted, but I know that I've seen him other years get to that bar. So I know it's there. We just got to help him get there, and I think that he will.
He hasn't kicked in a playoff game, but he has kicked in big games in college and iron balls and all that. Where's your sense of where he is mentally this week?
Oh, I think he's great. I really do. I mean, he's the same person. That's why I have confidence in him. He's the same guy, whether it's a make or a miss. You know, and you know sometimes I'll say, an NFL kicker, if you miss one, what do you do on the next one? You know, NFL kickers aren't. You know, they're not going to miss those consistently. And I know that, like I say, the Detroit game seems like an anomaly to me, but his other misses that he's had, he's always come back. I expect him to come back this week.
On the punt return Sunday, where 3 went forward 9 and then back 11, we obviously know that's part of the package with him, but is there a remedy for that, obviously, as you get into these high-stakes games?
Well, I think that obviously that was a huge play. I think where they punting from the 2 or whatever, and you're anticipating a big return. My hat's off to them. They did a great job. The punter did a great job. At some point in time, as he starts the return, you want his instincts to take over, and I never want to handcuff TC because he is a dynamic player, but at some point you do have to just cut your loss and just say, hey, I'm gonna take that and we'll move on from there.
So how do you get him locked in on that thought process without, it's obviously a fine line, without taking away his big play mentality?
There's a fine line, and I think that when you watch the tape and you talk about it, I think that he understands that also, and I think every situation is different. You know, in retrospect, you could maybe said that about the Buffalo return where he started and then came all the way back. You could have maybe said that last year about his San Francisco return. So you have to be careful how far that you take that because you want the player to be the player that he is.
How did you feel Kevin White did playing against the gunner?
He did a nice job for us. I mean, that was his first time in his career, I would imagine, doing that. And, you know, he's a tall, long athlete that has strong hands, and we felt like that was a good spot for him with the way the 46 was the other day, and he did a nice job. So I was pleased with it and something to build on.
You were on the field the last time the Bears played a playoff game, I think. Can you appreciate, you know, kind of ending the drought and what it means for the people around here?
Yeah, it's a tough question. That's a good question. I haven't really thought about it to be quite honest with you. It's just been today's Thursday, and I'm just so dialed into the routine. And as Coach said, there's no distractions. I think that maybe when it's all done, looking back, I'll probably reflect, but not right now.
What does Soldier Field like during a playoff game?
It's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. I mean, obviously it's a great sports town, and then to have, you know, hopefully it's going to be gray clouds, you know, a little cool. And I mean, that's what you think about NFC North playoff time, Chicago Bear, the C on the helmet. I mean, it's a big deal, and the fans do a great job, and we'll need them on Sunday.
What do your coverage guys need to know about Darren Sproles?
Everything. I mean, he's dynamic. I mean, he's a game changer. He's a guy that can start and stop. He's a great catcher. I mean, he's broken games wide open in his career, so we got to do a great job, obviously trying to contain him as best we can. Thanks, guys.
It's actually supposed to be 45.